all five corners, you know what I mean? Because there's so much shit going on, yo. And, at the end of the day, it ain't stop our ancestors, so it shouldn't stop us, you know what I mean, on that note. But what's going on, everybody? Anybody want to come up on the mic? Y'all welcome to. Just request to come up. Like I said, hit that newstoter.com. If y'all got $1 or a little bit more than that, because some of y'all is ballers, you know what I'm saying? Ballers. Loan me 20 fans till Friday. Loan me 20 to Friday, you know what I mean? Hit that hit that cash app for Newstoter. Hit that cash app for Newstoter. We about to get it in. About to get it in. About to get it in. Boom, 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 boom.
Yes, sir. We finna get it in, and like I said, we got a nice little way to get this thing started. So I won't even delay the actual space. Let me go ahead and just touch up on an article that kind of lets you know the state of affairs that Black people and the HBCUs are in right now. Long ways from going and creating these institutions to actually now almost a quarter that makes up non-Black Americans. So let me go ahead. Let me get a little something to drink. Cause the throat's a little dry, but
yeah, it was definitely hot today, man. I'm over here cleaning up, sweating like a dog right now, yo. So everybody go get some libations, man. Go get you some libations, beer, you know what I'm saying? Little weedy weed, you know what I'm saying? And some orders. That's all you need for the show tonight. Let's go. And if y'all doing DoorDash, hit me in the DM. I'll text you my address so y'all can send me something, you know what I mean?
Okay, this is titled HBCUs are becoming more diverse, but not everyone considers that a good thing. This article was curated on the Newstoter.com platform. It was originally published by Insight to Diversity.com. So it says recently a white student who was accepted to Spelman College among the nation's most prominent HBCUs sparked a heated online debate after posting her acceptance on Instagram. The student, who has not been publicly identified, goes by the Instagram handle @CamillaRose, uploaded a photo of herself wearing a Spelman shirt and expressed her excitement in the caption. Transferring to an HBCU has been my dream for almost 2 years now, the deleted post read. I could never have genuinely imagined I'd be transferring to HBC, the number one HBCU in the country, Spelman College, the home of Black Girl Magic. Now, this is a white girl talking about Black Girl Magic. I feel beyond grateful for every facet of my journey and for this immense privilege. I understand that the privilege I hold as a white woman in America, and I choose to wake up every day using this privilege to create a more equitable and healed world. The post quickly went viral, with thousands on social media posting comments either in favor or against Camilla Rose's reasoning for attending an HBCU. Many criticized the post for what they saw as a fetishization of Black HBCU experience. Some argue that the very act of a white student attending a HBCU rather than a predominantly white institution, PWI, is an invasion of a sacred space for African Americans. She took a spot in a Black space that was meant for a Black woman. I don't care how else you slice it and dice it. That's what she did. I'm not okay with a Twitter user with the handle @T-Small Makeup wrote, all these PWIs, but she chose to colonize an HBCU, and not for a superior education, but for an experience. Twitter user @Jadam, currently a Spelman student, took to the opposite view. She pointed out that the college is named after a white woman abolitionist, Laura Spelman Rockefeller, and argued that excluding non-Black students promotes divisiveness. We're promoting segregation by shunning her. Why promote segregation after our hard fight for equality? As long as she's treating Spelman like a school and not a Black woman museum, I don't have a problem with it. The debate sparked by Camilla Rose is just one example of an issue that has become increasingly contentious as white enrollment at HBCUs continues to grow. As of 2018, nearly a quarter of HBCU students were not Black, according to the National Center for Education Statistics. Many of these institutions have made controversial push to increase racial diversity in an effort to secure more funding. Some HBCU recruiters say the move is necessary because white, middle, and upper class students are more likely to be able to afford full tuition rather than requiring scholarships and grants needed by many Black students from disadvantaged backgrounds. HBCUs have been plagued by low enrollment in recent years and insufficient government support in Maryland. For example, a coalition of HBCUs filed an ongoing federal lawsuit in 2006 arguing that institutions. Hey, DJ, if you see somebody requesting, go ahead and send them up. In Maryland, for example, a coalition of HBCUs filed an ongoing federal lawsuit in 2006, arguing that the institutions received inequitable funding compared to the PWIs. One of the institutions, Morgan State University, has managed to grow enrollment in recent years by recruiting more Latinx, white, and international students, according to a 2019 article in the Washington Post. Let me go ahead and approve you, Rory. And right now I'm reading, so we will take speakers in a second. We will be finishing this article in just a second. So anybody who wants to speak on it, they definitely can do that. For public HBCUs, recruiting non-black students is necessary to maintain accreditation and receive government funding. In order to meet racial diversity standards, they recruit at predominantly white and Latinx high schools, and therefore tend to have larger numbers of non-black students compared with private HBCUs, according to another article in the Post. Of course, attracting non-black students to historically black institutions is not just a financial matter. As with many PWIs, HBCUs tend to value diversity for its educational and social benefits and recognize that exposing students to different social cultural identities is necessary to prepare them to succeed in an increasingly multicultural world. Still, there are those that say enrolling non-black students violates the missions of HBCUs and their special role as safe spaces for African American students. DJ Envy, the host of the nationally syndicated radio show The Breakfast Club, which often tackles racial issues, told listeners during a January 2021 episode that he never understood why students that weren't black went to HBCUs. As an alum of Hampton University, DJ Envy said that he went to an HBCU because he was offered more financial aid than at other schools and that he liked the idea of being in a space where he could be unapologetically black and not have to worry about racism. Milverton Saint, a popular African American blogger, argues that the history of white colonization and gentrification illustrate why these institutions should be preserved for black students. There isn't a single example in the entirety of humanity history of one white person coming into a black space and allowing it to remain a black space. Countries, neighborhoods, schools, etc. Saint recently tweeted, "A white person who claims to be an ally and understands history should understand that and choose to protect black safe places from the outside, not insert themselves." Yet, some white students have defended their place at HBCUs by arguing that their decision to attend an HBCU is based on allyship and desire to strengthen their ability to combat racism. In 2018 documentary by Vice News, white sociology major Tiago Richardson explained that he chose to study at Morehouse, a historically black man's college, because of his brotherhood component. He desired to attend Morehouse was so strong that he did not even apply to other schools. I know college is really about getting an education, but here you can get an education academically as well as an education through life, Richardson told. All right, so we go ahead and prove you guys to come in. Right now, we're just finishing up this article. Then we will go ahead and we'll take some speakers. I'm almost done, so just be patient with me. I'm almost done. I know college is really about getting an education, but here you can get an education academically as well as an education through life, Richardson told Vice. When asked by a black classmate if he feels that he belongs at Morehouse, Richardson stated, "I feel like I could belong anywhere I'm putting in the work. It's that simple." Joshua Packwood, who rejected a full ride scholarship to Columbia University in favor of Morehouse, became the first white valedictorian. The first white valedictorian of an HBCU where he graduated in 2008. He has expressed a similar view as Richardson to the media. "For me, being the only one or one of the few white students was actually the key part to why I wanted that experience because I just thought it would be a transformative in how I would think," Packwood told CNN in 2016. Researchers found that HBCUs can help enhance white students' critical consciousness by providing courses, workshops, and group experiences that explore white race, privilege, and oppression. Yet other students have found that attending college in a predominantly black environment has substantial benefits for African Americans. Black graduates of HBCUs experience greater social mobility and have healthier lifestyles later in adulthood than those who attend PWIs, among other positive outcomes. Andrew Adoro, interim assistant vice provost for academic programs and policy and associate professor of educational leadership at Virginia Commonwealth University, has written exclusively on the topic of white students and faculty presence at HBCUs. Adoro, who is white, served as professor at two different HBCUs prior to his current position at VCU. His research has focused in the area, and now he has a daughter who attends a historically black college. Being a part of an HBCU community as a white person requires ensuring that your white privilege is checked. The rule says your first stance is always going to be to listen, and you're going to spend far more time listening than talking. Let me go ahead and approve somebody else. Give me 1 second, y'all. We're almost done. We're almost done. However, admits he entered his faculty position at HBCUs with certain ideas of white savior complex, but through time learned to self-check his intentions and motivations. He recommends that all students, regardless of racial or ethnic background, base their choice of college on their individual needs and goals, not solely on whether the school is an HBCU. The one thing I would say to white students is don't take HBCUs off your list. It's not necessarily that you have to go out and seek an HBCU, but they need to recognize that some of the best programs out there are at HBCUs, and they are some of the most affordable institutions, he says. The backlash to Camilla Rose Waco this sentiment, with many on social media pointing out that her post made it seem to appear that if her desire to attend Spelman was based solely on the fact that an HBCU rather than on a prestigious academic reputation. She subsequently posted two lengthy apologies, stating in one that wanting to go to an HBCU is not something appropriate for me to center around myself, my experience, my wants, my needs. Me wanting to go to an HBCU is not a characteristic personal development camp. So, you can see the amount of money that some of these institutions are getting. You can see that they're pretty much going after Latinx, and white students as well. For anybody that would like to speak, because I know we had a couple people that came in and requested to speak, Marcus, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Hey, Newstoter, what's up, man? Great room as always. What's up, DJ? What's up, Peace and Reparation, everybody? Florida A&M man right here. Not only Florida A&M man, but FAMU High School man. I spent a majority of my life on FAMU campus.
Okay, I'm in Tallahassee too, brother. I'm from Tallahassee.
Okay, you get it. Ridge Road, South City. Ridge Road, South City. Well, South City doesn't exist anymore.
Okay, yeah, I'm South City Hill as well, yeah.
Yeah, Frenchtown, all that. Family owned restaurant in Frenchtown. Listen, man, listen. And I don't give a damn if anybody gets mad at me. I went to FAMU. White folks don't run shit on FAMU campus. You can add 200 more white people on FAMU campus. They still won't run shit. They still don't affect shit. And the most important thing that I want to say to this point is right here, right? And this is just my opinion. But the biggest problem, and I'm not trying to change the topic because I'm getting to a point. The biggest problem on HBCU campuses ain't the fact that white folks are there. That ain't got nothing to do with it. HBCU campuses are neoliberal moderate black creation machines. That's the major problem with HBCUs. But I divest on that one. I want to back up. In my opinion, and this just from my experience, if we are going to do things like pass reparations, get things done, we're going to need folks who have a proper understanding of black life. Now you can come to FAMU and think that you're going to turn it white. You can come to FAMU and think that you're going to change up how the dichotomy of blackness works. But the best way for me to put it is, I know black folks at PWIs who never support reparations, but I know white folks at HBCUs, and matter of fact, all the white folks I know at HBCUs support reparations. So when I think about this conference, right, and it's not that I'm selling out, y'all, and everybody's allowed their viewpoints, so I hope nobody drags me for this right here. But when it comes down to a couple of things, first off, resources. Man, look, as a FAMU lifetime rattler, I know the issues with our alumni association and how literally somewhere around 7% of us give back to the university. I know our situation where we end up making corrupt neoliberal politicians, right? I know the fact that, and I say this because I want to clarify some things. If we have no one, in my opinion, on HBCU campuses is 100% black, then we don't allow ourselves the experiences of even hearing other cultures, and how they talk and speak. Now, am I saying there should be 50% white or Latinx or whatever they call them? No. But the problem is to make it like extremely exclusive to nothing but Black Americans when there's some Black Americans who don't even want to touch a HBCU, who wouldn't even dare touch it, and they would much rather go to Harvard in comparison to the white graduates of HBCUs who I know. Like, I don't date outside my race or anything like that. But all the white folks I know who graduated from FAMU literally have the best understanding, a better understanding of Black America, and would never vote against our interests, would never work against our interests because they went to a Florida A&M University. That's just my opinion. I land my plane. I'm gonna stay on because I know I'm about to get lit up.
Okay, no, brother. I mean, like I say, every opinion, everybody has a right to their opinion. So let me ask you this real quick, percentage wise, because we know at a lot of these PWIs, these white universities, institutes, or whatever, that even though we as Black people make up 13-14% of the population, we definitely don't make up 13-14% of the population on these white campuses and whatnot. So this specifically is talking about white students and Latinx students or whatever, but this isn't even mentioning that some of the ones that we have from the diaspora as well, some of our Caribbean students and African students and stuff like that. So if we dig into the numbers even further, I'm sure that we will see even a greater number of non-Black American students at these universities. So let me ask you a quick question. Just in your personal opinion, on a campus, and we know FAMU is probably about maybe 7,000-8,000 is a student population or whatever, student body. What would you say in terms of, because HBCUs were created for Black Americans, the descendants of slaves who could not go to universities and colleges with white folks, what would you say the number of Black Americans needs to be at these universities? And just in terms of percentage, can you give me an answer to that?
90, 85 to 90%. That's my opinion. If it gets below 85%, then Houston, we have a problem. Look, Florida A&M University was created off a land grant to make sure that Black farmers in the state of Florida had an education process, so they actually understood how to farm in the state of Florida. Now, most of us already knew how to farm, but as new monies, new developments, new sources of income came to Florida for Black farmers, because back then some Black farmers got subsidies, specifically in 1908. Where Florida A&M University, not 1908, I'm sorry, I forgot, 18,
yeah, FAMU back in 1800s.
Yeah, 1800s, right. But when we left the Civil War, like Florida A&M was created, FAMC at the time, actually, FAMC was created to sustain us in farming, right? We were agricultural mechanical school. So to answer your question, man, in my opinion, if you go more than 15%, then that's when you start treading on high waters, treading on bad waters, treading on dangerous waters. Now, don't get me wrong, right? Like, we still have to have a conversation because we're talking about student enrollment. Let's also talk about the educator enrollment and the educators that are at these schools too, because I believe that's important also, right? So, I hope that conversation kind of expands to that. Florida A&M is still a majority. I believe we're 91% Black, 90% Black still to this day. So like we're not as diverse at FAMU as some of these other schools, but there are white and Mexican and Puerto Rican students that go to these schools, and I just, in my opinion, they just have a greater appreciation of Black America. Now, does that matter to some of us? No, some of us are gonna say absolutely. We don't give a damn what you feel like, what you think like. But I hate to be like this, but I take a white state representative who went to FAMU over a white state representative who went to Florida State, in my opinion. But that's just me.
Okay, appreciate it, brother. Now, I don't. It's hard to say. I don't know if FAMU's at 91% Black still. And like I said, I think you also have to dig into the actual statistics a little bit more, because, like I said, when you factor in kids that may be from the Caribbean, or kids who might even be born here in this country, but who parents migrate from the Caribbean.
Oh, you're definitely right, bro. You're definitely right on that. Like, no, it's like when it comes down to, okay, so let me stop talking diaspora. We're probably somewhere around 60 to 65%.
Bingo.
Yeah. That's fair. That's real fair.
That's what I'm talking about right there. Bingo. You hit the nail right on the head there. So, and not only that, in terms of the actual, because I can't say for family, but in terms of like we say, when we're talking about the administration and things of that nature. Now, I forgot which HBCU school had like an Asian that was in charge of a certain department and this and that, and so we're seeing like in some of these top positions and stuff like that as well, that we're getting an influx of non-Black Americans that's holding key positions, and not just professors, but I'm talking about in the administration levels and stuff like that as well too. So, in terms of that percentage, what do you think of Black Americans needs to be held? Because one thing we forget about is that in this country here, there's certain set asides and scholarships and grants and this and that that's specifically for like people that may be of African descent, people that may be of Caribbean descent. Now, when it comes to Black American, everybody gets thrown into that bag. So, and we're talking about with the HBCUs, what I'm saying, what need, and I'm talking about the student population as well as the actual administration. What needs to be for the administration in terms of Native Black Americans, in your opinion?
Well, okay, so can I answer that, but not necessarily directly answer that in a way? I hope you don't mind, but just follow me for a second.
Answer the best way you can.
Yeah. So the biggest problem at HBCUs ain't the teachers. The biggest problem at HBCUs ain't the students. If we're talking about being able to elevate blackness off of having an education from a majority black university like Florida A&M University, the major issue with it is the creation of the neoliberal, the recreation of the neoliberal. I don't give a fuck who's teaching. If you're teaching black liberation space, and I don't give a fuck who's teaching. The problem is when we're teaching from a capitalistic aspect of, and not necessarily a creation of black wealth aspect. And I do believe that family does is best to create black wealth, but that's individual wealth, which leads to our issues that we're having around having tethers, having sellouts, having members of Congress who don't do anything for their community. Those seeds are planted at HBCUs nowadays in comparison to the 70s and the 60s and the 50s and the 40s, where black liberation was the key focus of these HBCUs. So I can't, because all skin folk ain't kin folk, man. And I'm not trying to like, I just know what education looks like on Florida A&M campus. I know what education looks like at Howard. I know what is created and the type of students that are created. Are all these people like that? No. You find some of the most liberal, free, reparationist people who graduate from these colleges, and HBCUs are literally the last professional vesicle of education for black liberation. It's still HBCU. You can't find that anywhere else. So I'm not going to take away from that. But the issue is now we're creating people who are more concerned about staying in their class, staying in their upper middle class, not doing things for their community, running for office for shits and giggles, and trying to make themselves more important instead of doing things for their communities. And those seeds are now being planted in the HBCUs. I'm not trying to change the topic, but when I think about, I guess the purpose of us even having this space maybe is like, in general where we are. And I follow you, Newstoter, so I'm not going. That's one of the reasons why I joined. I'm about black liberation, and I know that neoliberalism and the creation of neoliberalism, the creation of the black moderate, that starts at HBCUs nowadays. That's all I got.
No problem. Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate your insight. You actually went there, so I mean, you would be an expert to speak on it. I mean, somebody who actually attended one of these universities and whatnot. Uh, would be one of the best people that you could actually have speak on it. So definitely, just for you guys that's in the space, please go ahead and make sure you go ahead and tweet out the space. Please make sure you go ahead and tweet out the space. Make sure you're following the host and the co-host. Make sure you're following us on all our social media channels, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube as well. I'm going to put the YouTube link up in there. Also, support us on Cash App, $Newstoter. That's in the Jumbotron. $Newstoter. Also, the PayPal and Venmo is up in the actual Jumbotron as well. So we're gonna go to my man. Who's next? CJ, go ahead. You're next.
Yo, peace and reparation, family. What's going on?
What's up now?
So I'm also a graduate of HBCU, and I would like for it to be strictly Black American, but particularly in my case, my school has always drawn from the diaspora. I went to Lincoln, so Kwame Nkrumah went there, and Nnamdi Azikiwe went there. So I actually went to school with a Nigerian prince. So like a real Nigerian prince, not a somebody sending you an email. So I would like for it to be strictly for Black Americans, but the reality of it is that um, the funding, in my estimation, the funding is a problem. We see that the way that funding goes to these schools, PWIs uh, 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 get a large amount of funding, and then schools who are also PWIs that serve Latino students or Latinx students or Hispanic students also get a large amount of funding, even though they're the same school. And the HBCUs get less. So it's forcing the HBCUs to um, look for other students outside of Black Americans and people from the diaspora. I mean, that is one of the huge problems that I see. Now, when I went to school in the '90s, there was one white undergraduate. She was local because my school Lincoln is it's basically surrounded by cornfields. It's in south south eastern Pennsylvania, close to the Maryland Delaware border. So it's not by any major city. It's literally in the cornfields. So you're going to get some people that are local. Um, and surprisingly, when I went there, I know it's probably worse. It's probably a lot more now. Um, it was a very strange thing to see Amish driving down the road and you go into town and all you see is like Mexicans, which was very strange for me, coming from Philly and not really seeing a whole lot of Mexicans at the time in the '90s. But yeah, my issue is really with the funding. I would like for it to be the way it is. I would like for it to be strictly for Black Americans, um, but the reality is the funding is really stopping schools from catering just to Black Americans. Like for instance, Lincoln, these schools have to they, the issue kind of it begs another question: like, do we want these schools to survive? Because a lot of them have not survived. Um, so we have to ask the question: do we want them to survive, or do we want them to succumb? Um, and like Marcus was saying, it doesn't matter how many white people actually go there; they're not going to take over that school, for sure. But I'll leave on that.
All right. Mr. Engagement, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Hold on one second.
Yo, that's just rude as hell, yo.
Hold on.
Like, hold on, TS. Hey, hold on. Now, you don't even.
Comment.
No, you're going to raise your hand like everybody else.
I don't like the way the CJ introduced himself. We are HBC graduates. You just stated that you attended an HBCU. You know that is not the way that we walk into a room. You attended the illustrious Lincoln University of Pennsylvania, the first diploma granting HBCU.
Okay. We're going to mute that up real quick. You're going to raise your hand like everybody else did. You will go ahead and get a chance. We got Mr. Engaging. We got my man Black Pressure next. Then you raise your hand now, and then you're next. And that's the way it works. So do not interrupt the people. That was pretty rude there. Trying to give you a chance, let you come on. You said you're HBCU graduate, so trying to let you get a chance to come on. But please, don't be rude. I don't like that. So please, don't be rude. Mr. Engaging, go ahead and unmute your mic.
All right, thanks, family. A little bit about me. I went to those WPI schools, so my perspective might be a little bit more different. I do have a college degree, for those that are wondering. So, with that being said, my observation as like an outsider, a Black American man, an outside looking at some of these HBCUs, I look at them as an institution that should be protected, but our governments that we put our tax dollars are not supporting that. And I find find that very disheartening and very problematic because we pay tax dollars for these institutions, no different from a WPI institution and a black institution. And I see like the separate but equal thing still being affected by us still to this day. So when I see that type of stuff going on, I don't see the HBCUs as effective as they once used to be. Like we used to have politicians that really advocate for people and like really went to the floor and the mat. I don't see the new crop that they got, like from the Obamas to the Kamala Harrises and all the other ones. They're not producing the stock that we need to fight the injustice that's going on. Then when you peel back and look at some of their curriculums, they don't have like the Dr. Claude Andersons or the Dr. Garrity's, and all those great geniuses and minds that should be at these HBCUs and empowering and designing their curriculums, like maybe even a Dr. Whatever his name is, even Dr. Umar, I might not even like him as much. But when it comes to some forms of education and stuff, I think he would be beneficial in an HBCU. But when we don't have our great black minds in those HBCUs, I feel like does us a disservice overall. So like as a black community and just as all. So that's just one of the things I observe. I hope it changed because like I like that the HBCUs are valuable and they should be protected. And they're just not, and that's what's sad.
Yeah, appreciate it.
So why did you attend an HBCU if you're so concerned about the status of historically black Americans?
Okay, I'm a black American at the end of the day, so like I'm gonna be concerned of every aspect of it. I grew up and raised in Connecticut. I'm not thinking, wait, miss, you asked the
no, Mr. Engaging, you don't even have to answer that because first off, like I just told TS, this is why like you can't have TS in the spots and whatnot, because TS, you don't control the Newstoter's Twitter space, okay? I'm the trigger man on this Twitter space right here. What I say goes, like Joe Clark said, I'm the head, you know what, in charge. So don't come in here blocking, please. This man just got through speaking about his experience. Yeah, he's black. He has a right to his opinion. Now you're skipping over my man, Black Pressure. When all I said was go ahead and raise your hand. Like you already coming in here being divisive. Like I say, like everybody else is just, we trying to give everybody a chance to go ahead and say what they want to say. I'm not going to keep muting the button now. Black Pressure.
You should make me the co-host because this
topic. Oh, whatever.
No,
okay.
TS, man. Come on now, TS. Like,
I'm trying, like, you're wearing on my patience here already. Black Pressure, go ahead and unmute your mic, please.
Hey, I want to start out by saying a peace to the black family, respect to the host and the co-host. So Newstoter, I'm going to do this. You know how I do it. I'm going to be the unpopular person in the room right now, okay? So I'm going to say this. I do not know how many times that white people have to show you their character. And also, Newstoter, I want to give you your props while it's on my mind. You took my talking point earlier, but you hit it out the park. And I'm not going to give a history lesson, but I'll say this. When you make a deal with the devil, you cannot be mad at the end results. And I'm not talking about, when I talk about the devil, I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about the devil our brother Malcolm X taught us about. We can go back to our ancient ancestors in the mother continent. We can go back to Reconstruction after slavery. We can go to the Civil Rights Movement, or we can use examples today from modern day gentrification. When you let those people in the door, they're going to take it eventually. Like you said, Newstoter, you can let 6 or 7 of them in, and it's cute, and it's he, and they make all the magazines, and they put their faces on all the social media. 5 years go by, it's 50 of them. 10 years go by, it's 400 of them. 20 years go by, they're the president of the university. 75 years go by, you wouldn't know a damn black person who went to one. And I'll give you a great example. I'm from Houston, right? Prairie View A&M, that's as historic as it gets when it comes to a historically black college. And if anybody that can hear my voice cares to go do your research, the only thing historically black about Prairie View now is the name, because that school has been consumed by Texas A&M University. And if you don't believe me, don't believe anything I say, look it up yourself. And I'll land my plane.
Man, who is talking?
Okay, I'm gonna just go ahead, TS, and just put you guys in the list. Because you insist on like disrupting this conversation. You didn't come here to contribute to the conversation.
I'm cooking, but his statement was incorrect on the.
But then you let the brother finish his statement. For you? Okay, I'm saying this is like the last warning. Nobody in here has been disrespectful. There's been one person in here that's been interrupting the flow of the conversation. I don't appreciate it. Trying to give you a chance. You said that you went to HBCU, graduated. Trying to get everybody in here, because most people don't even want you in the space, let's be honest. So I'm trying to go ahead and let you get a chance to get on up here. Give your experience about going to HBCU, because you are part of the Black community, no matter how much people like it or not. But you insist on trying to derail this conversation. Last one, TS, I'm going to just go ahead and drop you down to listening and leave it at that. Go ahead and speak, TS, so we can get to everybody else again.
I'm not available to speak now. I told you I was preparing dinner. I'm chopping up Brussels sprouts. So
shit. Okay, well then, since you're not available to speak.
I'll put my hand up when I'm available.
Okay, so then you're going to go and get removed from speaker. And then when we feel like it's time for you to come back to speak, then you can go ahead and speak. My Lord, like you don't have time to speak, but you want to come up and block on these. Come on. DC, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Toter, what's up, broski? Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you for holding down the space per usual. I threw a couple of tweets up in the Jumbotron, man, because going back to Carter G. Woodson and the miseducation of the Negro, he's been talking about these so-called black academics for a long time and about how useless they are in white society and even more useless in black society. And I had a question for the brother Marcus, and that was like, bro, I know you're trying to be cool with everybody and 15% and all of that, but that tweet in the Jumbotron, like that's gonna show you what your 15% gonna get you, bro. You got an Asian woman who is the editor-in-chief of Howard University magazine, and that's only one of the things. Like, we ain't gonna talk about how Howard University did our great Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. That's a whole nother thing. They have such a long history of doing things that are anti-black American. So the question I have for Marcus is, bro, why are you fighting for people, even 1%, that don't look like you and don't represent your views to be on your territory when none of those people fight for your people to be on their territory?
Okay, since my name was addressed, I'm going to respond to that. I ain't fighting for nobody, brother. I'm fighting for black people. I'm talking about my experience and what has happened. Am I the power that be? Am I the doctor that's the president of the Florida A&M University? No, I'm not. Am I the person who accepted that person to be a student at Florida A&M? No, I'm not. What I am is a person who went to school with that, from the people who had decisions that they made that let white folks go to school with me. Am I fighting for them? My brother, I don't fight for nobody but black people. At all times, all the time, every single time, and I've done that my whole life. I don't have to necessarily cap. Now, I understand what you're saying, man. I'm not sitting here saying I feel the president of the student body needs to be a Asian woman, a white woman, a Latinx woman. Preferably, I don't necessarily want that, especially at a historically black college or university. What I'm talking about is the experience I had with the people that I went to school with. But no, I ain't fighting for nobody. I completely disagree with that. I don't put up, and to be honest with you, if we're talking about my experience, not yours, DC, not anybody else in this room, and to be honest with you, I subscribe to my own politics. And I ain't hating on, to be honest with you, I'm not hating on the idea of, as my brother said, the devil that Malcolm X was talking about. I understand that completely. Matter of fact, I've been affected by more than most folks. I'm old as shit, and I have been affected by it. But when it comes down to fighting for folks, nah. But when it comes down to my experience and seeing the people that were educated at these places, what I saw, what I see, the graduates that I saw, literally have not done anything to hurt or harm the black community, the ones that I know. Now, here's my thing. Are they still white folks? Yes. Am I capping for white people? No, just the ones that I saw that graduated. Just the ones when I say, hey, man, would you give $25, $50 to support a reparations movement? Would you come out here
do this protest with me? Would you lobby on behalf of Black African Americans, which are white friends, and go ahead and change the laws because you white and they trust? Yeah, you know what? I will fuck with them because they fuck with us. But for the most part, I'm not capping for nobody else besides my community. I'm just speaking about what I saw, and I hope I don't offend you, my brother DC. You know what I mean? Because I get it, right? But if you speak in absolute, sometimes you be absolutely wrong. That's just me.
Well, I mean, I'm just going based off of your response to Toter. Like, Toter asked you what acceptable percentage you felt like there was, and honestly, I think the only real answer, the right answer, is 0%. So when you say
I guess I got a question for you.
10 to,
my brother DC, I got a question.
It's like,
I got a question for you, my brother.
Okay.
I got a question for you, my brother. It is a real question. Have you attended Florida A&M University?
I have not.
Did you attend Florida A&M University? Okay.
I have not.
Did you attend the HBCU?
I did not, bro.
Okay, so you didn't attend the HBCU, and I'm not trying to come at you. I hope you this conversation.
I mean, it's all G. Even if you are, it's all G. We just having a talk, bro.
Yeah, you're right. So what I'm saying to you is, from my experience, when you walk to Gibbs Hall, when you go to a football game, and you only show up for the football game to go to the goddamn halftime show. When you have that real HBCU experience, your blackness is going to trump everything else on that campus. And also, as the other brother mentioned, ain't no way in hell in modern politics that we're going to be able to stop any community from trying to apply and get accepted, specifically in the day and age where HBCUs lose funding. FAMU just got its accreditation back 3 years ago. FAMU was one of the biggest black colleges. No, excuse me, 10 years ago. FAMU was one of the biggest black colleges in America that was unaccredited, damn near unaccredited. We had to go through a year not being accredited. And I believe Morris Brown just got theirs back. They damn self. So what does that mean? That means that there's other folks besides us who are funding our shit just so we can get our black shit off. Now, is that right or wrong? In a perfect world, you goddamn right. It's 100%. But in the real world we live in, shit, man, I wanted to be 85% black. Because to be honest with you, when it comes down to Florida State and them crackers in Tallahassee, them racist motherfuckers that be creating the policy and these board of governors that dictate public schools like HBCUs, like FAMU, like Florida Memorial, like all these HBCUs across the nation. The board of governors are literally decided by a Republican, a white Republican who does not give a damn about an HBCU. And I ain't saying Democrats are better. What I'm saying is the people who decide how much money goes to FAMU and these schools across the nation, these HBCUs across the nation, that's dictated mostly by white folks. So we got to keep what we can to be black, and let's be doing some self-funding. Florida A&M University damn sure is trying, but we don't even donate back. I land my plane, bro. Like I'm not trying to say you're wrong. I get it, but ideology versus reality are two different things, my brother.
No doubt. Yes. You tell us to stick around. We're gonna get back to you guys. We got Mr. Engaging is next, and then we got Black Precious. MF Kush was in here. I don't know. We lost him. So MF, if you come back, then I'll go ahead and let you jump up in the spot because you were actually next. But go ahead, go ahead, Mr. Engaging. Unmute your mic.
Yeah, I definitely want to build upon what Brother CJ was saying in regards to like the secession of how white people gentrify organizations and clubs and such. For those people that are not aware, I am a Lions Club member, and I've seen where historical Black Lions Club got gentrified, and they have a white club president. And this is in Austin, Texas. These are things that we do need to be mindful of when we're creating up Black spaces and taking ownership of Black spaces. I really don't want to see white people or any other demographic that's not Black American in the leadership role because it's very vital. It's very important. Our people look up to those people in those roles and in those institutions. So I find it does a great disservice when we don't have the people who are standing in the shoes of their ancestors not entrenched in those institutions. It really does a disservice to us as a Black community and for the greater community at large, because they shouldn't be interfering with that conversation. There should be a conversation with Black people and the rest of the people in society. So when you have another group of people playing two sides of the conversation, like Nellie Fuller has always talked about, I find that it really does a disservice in our educational institutions, and we should be preserving for at least Black leadership, and especially in key roles such as communication. Like we shouldn't have an Asian person communicating the needs of the Black American community in our institutions. I feel like that is a disservice within itself.
No doubt, no doubt. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna kick it to my man DC, and then we're gonna go to I'm sorry. We're gonna go to Black Pressure. I'm sorry. Black Pressure, then DC. We're having a good space, y'all. Let's keep the conversation flowing. Let's get some sisters up in here too. I know some of y'all might have went to some HBCUs or got a family member that went to HBCU, and even if you didn't go to HBCU, you got an opinion about how many Black people should be there. So let's get some of that feminine energy up in here if we can. I know y'all sisters, y'all got something to say. So somebody come on up here, because we got the brothers up here doing it right now, but we need some of the sisters to come up in here. Black Pressure, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Hey, Newstoter, do me a favor. I already spoke, so skip over me. You just come back to me whenever you want and get some of the sisters in or get someone else in that spoke. But I'm going to drop. I'll back off my slide, and I want you to bring somebody else in.
Okay, no problem, bro. You can just stay in the speakers. Y'all can stay in the speaker spot if y'all want to. It don't matter. DC, go ahead and unmute your mic.
The same goes for me, broski. If you got to get some of the ladies up here, I'm fine with that. I
can't listen. I can't force the sisters to come up here and speak like they normally. I can't.
I'm gonna jump in. I'll jump in. Okay.
Yeah, we listen. We don't do a caveman style dragging our women by their hair, so we can't make the sisters come up here and speak if they want to speak. Okay, look like we got one sister that wants to come up here and perhaps speak.
Let me just build on this real quick, man, before you move on. Ahead. Like, I just wanted to expand on what I was saying earlier, because the problem that I have is that we have to even have these conversations in 2022, where we got to try to talk to other Black people about why it's not okay for you to be okay with non-Black people being here. And I know people talk about like reality versus the way you would like for it to be, but the way that somebody becomes the editor-in-chief of Howard Magazine is it starts with it's not so bad. It's only a few people, or it's not so bad. It's only 10 or 15%. Now, what I can tell you is I didn't go to an HBCU, but that still doesn't make me wrong about what I said about Howard. Why is that woman the editor-in-chief? I graduated from Cal State LA out here in Los Angeles. Now, I went to the BSU when I was there because I was looking to get involved, right? This is back in 2011, 2012. When I walked in, the woman who was the head of the BSU was not Black. I want y'all to let that set in for a second. She was not Black. She was like Armenian or some shit like that. Now, the person who was the chair of the Pan-African Studies Department was Melina Abdullah. If y'all not familiar with her, she's a part of Black Lives Matter. Surprise, surprise. So this is what I'm saying. When you're not guarding the paint, that whole kumbaya, everybody's welcome attitude is going to get you put out of your own shit. So that's why I'm saying the mentality really needs to be 0% and zero tolerance for non-Black people there, and especially in any sort of leadership role. And I'll land with that.
All right, appreciate it. Kirsten, would you like to say something? That you became a speaker. Would you like to speak?
Yeah, sorry, I forgot to raise my hand. It's Kirsten also.
Kirsten,
so I only came up because you said some women, but I did not go to an HBCU, but I went to school very close, my undergrad, very close to Virginia Union and Virginia State. I'm a part of a BGLO, and I actually have issues with non-Black people being part of BGLOs. If y'all don't know, Black Greek letter organizations. That's a whole different conversation. I don't want to get into it.
That's the problem.
I don't want to get into the BGLO stuff because I know how a lot of people feel about it.
It is a problem.
Here we go.
Hey,
Anyway,
let the sister talk.
I'm not trying to be argumentative with Marcus at all because that's my homeboy. But the way that you framed even your defense of non-black people going to HBCUs made it seem like someone who shouldn't even have a opinion about it, even being a part of the black community. And I do take offense to that because it's not like we don't support. It's not like we don't have an affinity. And to be quite honest, the only reason I didn't go to the HBCU that I wanted to was because I did not have enough money to, and the white school gave me more money. And my parents had 2 other children in college, and I had to do what I had to do. So, especially wanting to go away to school. So that was a whole different conversation. People do what they do, you know, they do what they can afford. And it is what it is. But I see the value in HBCUs. Some of my dearest friends been have gone to HBCUs, graduated both undergrad and graduate school, and the community and the network is just incomparable. I celebrate that. I support that. I give my time and my energy to supporting HBCUs, especially to get folks out of HBCUs into the workforce. So I don't. I think it's more a matter of. I think it's less a matter of did you go to an HBCU, did you not? If you're black, then it is. I went to an HBCU, but I'm not black, so I have more of a say. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, listen. This is my hold on, Marcus. This is my personal opinion. Like HBCUs, for one, could not. I know they get federal funds, but let's be for real. The federal government gets money from the actual taxpayers and stuff. So every black person on here, I'm sure their taxes have contributed to help actual HBCUs and things of that nature too. We're all black. HBCUs were built for Black Americans, so I feel anybody on here has a right to actually state whatever they feel about the actual HBCUs. Now, let me ask you a quick question, Kirsten. Like, what percentage do you feel should be Black Americans at HBCUs?
I wish 100% of us went to HBCUs. I wish it was possible for all of us to go to HBCUs. But we have to remember that, you know, a lot of so when we think like the people that are leaders that were even the talented 10th, like they started out at HBCUs. They might have gone to graduate schools and gotten PhDs at the Harvards and the Princetons and the Yales, but they didn't have access to University of Pennsylvania for the most part. They didn't have access to Brown. So there was only so many places we could go. The what happened was as education became, this get out of everything, get out of poverty, get away from our people, get your life, get 2 kids, a house in the suburbs, a BMW, and some money in the bank. When college became that gateway, so to speak, for everybody, I think that's when people started to turn away from going to HBCUs because it was a matter of prestige. It was a matter of network. It was a matter of, what am I going to do when I finish and I get out of here? And for people who did not grow up in an area, for example, that's close to an HBCU. So I grew up in the Philadelphia area. So I knew what Cheney was. I knew what Lincoln was. I knew people that went there. I knew what Howard was. My cousins went there. I have cousins that went to Bethune-Cookman. So there I knew that they were HBCUs. But the thing was that, like I said, in my instance, in my case, I did not have the resources and the money to go to an HBCU. I just didn't. It wasn't because I didn't want to. It was because I couldn't. So percentage wise, I wish 100% of black people went to HBCUs, and I wish 100% of black people came back and actually supported their HBCUs with their funds, and not just during homecoming weekend, giving money to, giving money to the cities to go to a party, or spending our money. I know other people have heard me say this. especially being a part of a B-Glow, and I am going to talk about that. I am going to criticize it because there is no reason why we should not have our own everything. You know, we should be our own. We should be a daggone pat. We should have our own hotels. We should have our own restaurants. We should not be paying other people to house us, feed us, and support our events and things when it comes time every year. And membership intake should not be our biggest way to make money or to get our finances up. And because of that, we started to open up to a bunch of other people that don't belong. And then you get these situations where it becomes the exceptional white person or the exceptional brown person or the exceptional whatever. You know, ooh, look, they got a white person that's stepping. Ooh, look, they got a Asian person who's the president of their organization. Like, that's silly to me. There should be no reason why someone who is not black is leading black people in a space that was created for the protection of black people. And that's all I got to say about that.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming in and speaking. Definitely appreciate the insight and whatnot. So let's go to Yikes. You haven't had a chance to speak, so let's go ahead. We haven't heard you. Go ahead and unmute your mic. And for those that's in the room, make sure you guys are following the host, co-host. I put in a YouTube channel in the actual Jumbotron, as well as a newsletter to Newstoter.com. So you can click that link, go and subscribe to the newsletter as well. So please make sure you guys support us on Cash App if you can. If you got $1, $2, support it to Newstoter. That is $cash. I'm sorry, that is $Newstoter. $Newstoter. Yikes, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Hello, everyone. I want to answer the question, and thank you for letting me get up. HBCUs should only be for Black Americans. And it's for me, this is not like a super complex question, especially when it comes to gatekeeping. We talk about gatekeeping all the time and making sure that it's only us who has control over the narrative that surrounds Black Americans, Black people in general. Okay. I have a serious issue hearing on this panel at somebody who's in HBCU has a position of power, because the whole point is that Black people need to regulate our own spaces. So now we have somebody else moderating and regulating, and that's where confusion comes, and that's where, oh, now this person gets more accolades, or because they're in this space, and like the I was saying before, I don't understand why this would even be something to be debated. I think that it's important for us to gatekeep. We talk about it all the time. If gatekeeping is going to come down in our educational spaces, that to me, that is one of the most important ways to inform a population that's been neglected, like we have, and it's the benign neglect. But even on top of that, it's the acceptance of letting this slide and that slide and that slide. You had the Caucasian female dancing outside of Spelman College, talking about something that's not Atlanta, and actually, I was listening to the space that the Black Authority did on it a few times, because it was really important to me to actually talk about that issue. Personally, I'm like this. If you're going to let these people be in leadership positions at our educational universities, and there's not going to be any repercussion, how can you know what I'm saying, expect repercussion to happen in your workplace, expect repercussion to happen where your children go to school? How are you going to expect repercussion to happen if we can't even control what's going on in our own schools, what's being taught, what's being given to people as the message, the information? So I do have a serious issue with it. T.S. Giselle, I see you down there laughing while I'm talking, and I don't even really want to acknowledge you, but I'm glad you came on. I'm sure you have something to say to me, because anytime I pop up somewhere, you always seem to find your way around and start laughing at what I'm saying. So I feel like that's pretty much all I had to say. I want to keep it concise. I really like the conversation. I've been here since it started, and I'm going to just fall back, me. So I'm always listening, always here, but, this whole topic to me is just very cut and dry. So thank you.
No problem. If you was in here and you heard the beginning, you heard it even in that article I was reading, that you had varying opinions. You had one student that was upset with the the white girl coming to the actual university, and you had another one that thought it was a great thing. So that's kind of how you have it at a lot of these institutions. You have a lot of black people. It's almost split. I wouldn't say split right down the middle, but you have a lot of black people saying, well, hey, if they come to get an education and they're not bothering anybody, I don't care or whatever. So yeah, since you've been like coming up to, I'm gonna go ahead and let you speak. I'm gonna give you a warning right now. We got a good discussion going on. I'm not in the trolling thing. I'm not trying to hit a bunch of magpie stuff tonight. So just go ahead, be respectful. I'm telling you, like, I don't really want to hear all this crazy stuff. I know you went to HBCU, so go ahead and drop some information for a change.
Absolutely. Greetings. Country, the number one producer of black engineers and black college graduates, home of the blue and gold marching machine. Can I get an Aggie pride? Home of the greatest homecoming on earth, Jiho. Period. That's how you introduce yourself. I'm a little disappointed in my fellow HBCU graduates that have spoken before me. We know that when we are in mixed company, and we are in mixed company, you introduce yourself when you walk into the room. But shout out to those rattlers on the highest of seven hills.
What's up now?
Okay? Period. Even though we know that I'm sure you guys miss the BGMM blowing the marching 100 out of Bragg Stadium. So number one, I am that HBCU graduate that is boule, that is bougie, that understands that HBCUs produce the elite of the Black American community. All things great originate at our historically Black colleges and universities. From Cheney University to Shaw University, the mother institution of North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University. However, what we will not have are people that have not had the presence to grace our institutions speak on our institutions. I don't care if you are a member of a Black Greek letter organization, you will not discuss HBCUs because you don't know it. You have not experienced it. Being Black is not enough for you to have an opinion on who can be admitted or work at a historical Black college or university. Your Black student union can never compare to the experience of what it is like to be a Black person to attend an HBCU. So let's clear that out. Okay? And just because you are a member of a Black Greek letter organization doesn't give you a pass as well. And by supporting HBCUs, sweetie, you have to do more than attend a homecoming function to do that. So let's make that very clear. Being Black is not enough to speak on our institutions, period. Okay? And we will critique and criticize who can do that. We are a small minority of Black educated people. HBCUs, students, graduates make up 10 to 15% of all Black people that have a higher level of education. And so while that number may be small, we account for 85% of your physicians, 80% of your attorneys, 90% of your judges across the country, federal judges, 80% of your members of Congress, 60% of your engineers. The most elite African Americans attended historically Black colleges and universities.
Okay, TS, but to get to the point of the topic, do you believe that HBCUs should only be for Black Americans or everyone? So we don't have to go and do the whole production.
So
get to the point, like.
So you live in Tallahassee. So when you're an HBCU graduate, you have to properly introduce yourself, and that's what I just did. Okay, you know several rattlers. Okay, that's how they introduce themselves. I'm an Aggie. the largest historically black college university in the country, and I will properly introduce our institutions of higher learning. Period. Okay? And we will not have students, black people, that attended institutions that are 4% black discuss who can be admitted into our institutions and who cannot. Okay? Now, with that being said, and I'm still cooking, by the way, Newstoter. You're interrupting my dinner. So, why do HBCUs exist? They exist because our ancestors were denied the right to, a proper education. There were a handful of HBCUs founded prior to the ending of slavery, but that was only a handful. This mother institution where North Carolina A&T was founded in the basement of Shaw University was founded prior to slavery. By the way, Shaw University is the first historically black college university founded in the South. With that being said, we cannot allow hate to drive historically black colleges and universities. While they were founded to educate freed enslaved people, our institutions, unlike your Florida states, your University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, Duke University, Mid-States, wherever, UCLA's, our institutions never banned people, students, based off of their religion, ethnicity, gender, and so we cannot apply that standard to our institutions. If our schools may be struggling financially or to keep their doors open, we have to do what we can to keep those doors open because it is important that our institutions remain. They will always be majority black. Having a handful of students that may not be black is not going to ruin 150 plus year of historically black college and universities.
Yes, it will.
Yep, and that's how those Austin line thought, and they thought the same way, and they ruined their legacy.
I know.
So when you say that, I really.
Okay, we're gonna let TS finish because TS, you're gonna unpack it in about 45 seconds because you got to do your long, drawn out intro, and everybody's trying not to go to sleep. So we're gonna go ahead and let you unpack it. You're saying I get what you're saying, that you feel like pretty much anybody should be able to come. Everybody, let TS go ahead. Because we don't want to have this back and forth. So I don't want anybody, when somebody's talking, raise your hand and wait till that person is done. Don't interrupt anybody, please. Let's be respectful. TS, you're going to get ready to unpack this because I'm trying my best to stay awake in your little soliloquy. So go ahead and unpack this for us.
I mean, if you guys don't have culture, I can't help that. I can't help that you guys attend the Florida states of the world, which have no contribution to Black American society. But hey, and what we will not have is we be interrupted by two black people that don't have degrees from historically black colleges. Okay? We want. Sweet sir, your black student union could never compare to the HBCU experience. And please don't comment on HBCUs when you don't even know the flavor of the Kool-Aid served in the cab on Fried Chicken Wednesday or Set Friday or Pretty Wednesday. Okay? If you don't know what the Yard Fest means, this ain't for you. If you don't know what coronation means, this is not for you.
What are you talking about? Like, what does this got to do with, like, should Black Americans be able to, like, what does that got to do with if somebody knows the inside of the student union or what chicken they serving or what if they got great Kool-Aid? Like, what does that got to do with anything we talking about here? Yes or no? Should it be strictly for Black Americans or should it be a melting pot?
I'm discussing HBCU culture, Newstoter, so that shows me that you don't have an HBCU degree or you don't know anything about Florida A&M.
Okay, look, I can't do it tonight. Like, I can't do it tonight. Like,
Friday is, so this conversation.
I've been up on the set. Even though I didn't go to family, I've been up in the set and whatnot. So I got a bunch of family members and friends and everything else that graduated from fam. Listen.
Hey, Newstoter. Hey,
yeah,
this dude, TS Giselle.
Let me jump in real quick. So TS, what you think about the situation at Howard, where they got like the infestation of like rats and roaches and shit like that? but still got Black American kids moving up in there. And also, you had that situation where that white dude moved down. He was like a foreigner, tether or whatever, was wound up walking his dog on Howard Lawn, dog taking the shit, kids complaining. He damn near wanted to call the cops on the kids, but not realizing he on an HBCU campus, walking your dog shit. So those type of things are issues too. You know, think about that. You know what I mean? Yeah, I yield. Go ahead, Tom.
So Howard University is, of course, the sister institution of North Carolina A&T. You know,
you got 20 seconds to wrap it up, TS.
I'm responding to DJ's question. So, you know, Aggies and Bison, we're very close because we are the elite of HBCUs. I don't like this term, but, you know, well, I don't know if A&T is technically considered to be a part of the Black Ivy, but North Carolina A&T is certainly a leading historical Black college university, the #1 public HBCU in the country, as well as the largest, as I've stated multiple times. Aggies do. HGGIEPRIDE. Give me that.
No, something
okay.
that Aggies going always
no, hold on. No.
Aggies don't win one game this fucking year. Fuck it, it's over.
TS kind of TS
been nigga. No.
TS been on for a minute, and we can't just hold up the space for us. So we gotta go ahead and move on, man. Like straight up, like TS, I'm gonna put you to listener. You can come back in a little bit, but I just can't sit up and just hold the space up like this here. So, Black Pressure, go ahead and unmute your mic. Black Pressure, go ahead and unmute your mic. I think I had everybody muted, but go ahead and unmute your mic, Black Pressure.
I got it. Now you see what happens when you let that dude on stage. Now let me tell you the humor and the irony about this dude, T.S. Giselle, and all this acquired education, and I went and I graduated more than once from an HBCU and the prestige in the Black Ivy League. You took all that education when you got out. You went choked and gagged on white men for a small fee. I wonder how proud the alumni at whatever HBCU you went, how proud they are. And I'm landing my plane.
Hey, go ahead. Damn, I lost the order. We got Kirsten back up. I know she was kind of like TS was kind of saying something to you. So go ahead and unmute your mic, and then we'll get to Marcus, and we'll get to Mr. Engaging and everybody else.
Yeah, I peeped the not so subtle shade that she was throwing at me, and all I have to say is that you have no right to measure someone's blackness. For the record, for people that are likely your age and younger, not necessarily started in my generation, Generation X, a lot of Black people go to HBCUs for a Black experience, one that they lacked growing up. So that's all I got to say about that. You can say whatever you want, but to try and delegitimize my opinion in favor of someone who is not even part of our community when I am enmeshed and ingrained from birth. I am AME. I grew up in a Black-ass house with some people that you read about in history books, baby. Okay? I have access and opportunities that you can't even imagine. And all you do is sit around here and attack women, the women that you were trying to be, and now you're attacking somebody that you don't even know, who said nothing negative about you, who has never said anything about you, and trying to, like I said, delegitimize my Blackness. Now, that's all I'm going to say on that, because this space is not about either one of us, as much as you would like to center yourself in every conversation and take up space. So keep my name out of your mouth, because I'm not the motherfucking one. Be blessed. Thank y'all. Good night.
Good night. Appreciate you coming through. I'm going to go Let me go, Marcus. You go ahead and I'll get to you, Mr. Engaging.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, man. Listen, great room again. Kirsten, DC, anyone who believes that HBCU should be 100% black, and to be honest with you, I'm not completely against that thought process. I'm not. And I apologize to DC personally right now in this space, because Kirsten's right. I don't have the right to judge, because one of the reasons why I care about having this conversation is I think about Florida A&M again, and I think about how 1996 FAMU was on the cover of Time magazine as the #1 university in the country, on the cover of Time magazine. And as soon as Florida State saw that, as soon as the big white college in town saw that FAMU made the cover of Time magazine as the #1 college and university in the country, they did everything in their power to stop FAMU from thriving. And back then, I think we were somewhere around in the 90s when it comes down to black American descendants, slaves. It was a very black university in the 90s, right? I'm gonna age myself, but I was the freshman year of college. And I think I say that, and I think about this thing right here. Every HBCU is an economic driver for black communities surrounding it. Every single HBCU is an economic driver. They provide jobs. They provide culture. They provide police. And the bond community in Tallahassee, Florida, Newstoter, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And the bond community in Tallahassee, which is on the west side of Florida A&M University, the most properties owned by the black American community in that city is in the bond community, which is right next to Florida A&M University. And FAMU actually has a lot of properties in that community also. So when we started thriving and balling, and we were about to go D1, I don't know if you remember that, but FAMU was about to be the first HBCU to go D1 in sports.
Yeah, when they had Coach Billy Joe.
Come on, man, talk to me now. Come on, man, talk to me. Now, I know a lot of people that ain't sports ball fans, but that was a big fucking deal at the time. We were about to be the first black college to go D1. And the divestors and the operatives and also white folks who did not like the fact that FAMU was on the come up literally stopped that in its tracks. Bond community is a war zone when it comes down to property ownership right now. Florida State University wants to buy up every house in the bond community. That means a white college wants to go to a historically black neighborhood and buy up every single property in that neighborhood. And they're pissed because there's some...
Yeah, I can see that piece you cut.
They're pissed because they can't get their money. They can't get those houses because FAMU either owns them or black folks affiliated with FAMU owns these properties. I say that to say you guys are right in a sense, and I'm not completely ignorant on this, right? Like this is why I'm happy I have these conversations. Ain't nothing wrong with learning while you're talking. Ain't nothing wrong with that at all, right? That's a goddamn good thing. But I'm also a process guy. I was in politics for 20 years. I'm a process guy, right? So what we are forgetting in this conversation about should HBCUs be only for black Americans or everyone, we forget about something else, right? We forget about the laws, the creation, what's possible and what's not possible, what's legally possible and what's not possible. We can have a mentality of saying, hey, yo, and by the way, Kirsten, I am not coming. Matter of fact, let me repeat this. I am not coming at any black person who didn't go to an HBCU. That's absolutely wrong, because I think about my family members who are associated with Florida A&M University, specifically my grandfather, who never went to college a day of his life, but sent my black ass to college off of his black restaurant that was attached to Florida A&M University, right? He didn't go to college, but he made all his money off of Florida A&M University, a black economic driver. Here's where I'm getting at. If y'all really want 100% black colleges, black American colleges, HBCUs to be 100% black, that means that we got to do a lot of more work on the political side of the aisle. You have to change the board of governors in the state of Florida. And I don't give a fuck what nobody says on this app. I don't care what anybody says on this app. We can dream, we can think about shit, but y'all can't do shit in the state of Florida with HBCUs and who gets in, who gets out without approval from the Board of Governors that is assigned by the governor of Florida. That means DeSantis has more power over HBCUs. Who teaches there? Who doesn't teach there? Who decides who what's the student enrollment or not? And I believe every single public HBCU has a board of governors or some entity that regulates that. And most of the time, that's even those folks that serve on that board are either chosen by the state legislature or the governor themselves. So I say this to say, good, you know what? Fine, fuck it. Let's make these motherfuckers all black American. But how the fuck do you do it? You do it by having somebody who gives a fuck about HBCUs in the democracy process, in the lawmaking process, in the process of choosing who sits on the boards of governors. And without that, then you're talking about black schools that are going to lose funding because we don't give back. We don't give back to these schools at a high rate, at the same rate these PWIs do that, right? We really don't. And it's a problem because they can destroy black communities and cities all over America by fucking with the black colleges. And the last point I want to make before I land my plane is this right here. The largest black college in America is not at HBCU. The largest black college in America is right here in good old Atlanta, Georgia. The largest black college in America happens to be Georgia State University. It has the largest amount of black American students in the country, point blank. And it's not an HBCU. It's a PWI. It's a PWI, but it's not a PWI anymore because it's a cheap school that was in downtown Atlanta that black folks could happen to get in. And it ended up going to an enrollment somewhere close to the multiple 100,000 of people. And most black people who have gone to college in the city of Atlanta have gone to Georgia State. So I've seen this in reverse right here in Atlanta, where a PWI got taken over by black folks. But the funny part about that is we still don't hold the power positions on that campus. I land my plane.
Great points you made. Hitting home about FAMU as well here in Tallahassee. Definitely great points you made. I was born here, grew up in South Florida and whatnot. Bunch of cousins that graduated from FAMU, bunch of friends, this and that. So definitely every point that you made was definitely hitting the nail on the head. And Florida State's not through buying up the property. Florida State is just taking property from the Civic Center from back in the 70s all the way through, and they're not done. They pretty much own Tallahassee. I don't see that changing anytime soon. The FAMU don't get it together, because they are slowly creeping over there getting that property too. The FAMU don't get it together, Florida State is going to own every single solitary piece of property. So they need to go ahead and get their act together. And you're right, we need to support the HBCUs. We definitely, outside of just going to FAMU, a homecoming, or anything like that, a couple home games, football or something like that, we definitely need to show some support. We also need to support the new black media, and you can support that by supporting Newstoter on Cash App. That is $Newstoter. That is $Newstoter. You can support for as little as $1. For as little as $1, that is $Newstoter. Let me take it to my man, Mr. Engaging, CJ, DC, and Black Pressure. In that order, Mr. Engaging, CJ, DC, and Black Pressure. Mr. Engaging, go ahead and mute your mic. We're having us a good conversation tonight. Let's keep it going.
Yeah, I would just want to respond to something that DS said. Kind of disturbed me when people.
Please don't. Please. We don't have.
It was more or less about the judging of blackness by the institutions by one and or the organizations that they're part of. What I want to say in response to that is this is the reason why the HBCUs are in the predicament that we're in, or that there are in the black community. They shouldn't be used as a barometer to judge people's blackness based on if they attend or what organizations that they're part of. It's more or less what they're producing once they leave out of those institutions and where they're doing. And then when you look at the results of that, like your Sheila Jackson Lee's or your Kamala Harris, and you look at the fruits of their labor, that becomes very problematic. And that's the reason why I do want to address that head on, because just because I go to a WPI school don't mean make me any less black, and that I don't care about black people, and that I'm not contributing to the black community and the experience. I think that should be checked, just for an educational standpoint, respectfully. That's the reason why I wanted to bring that up.
No doubt, no doubt, no doubt. And you make valid points. And like I say, to my thing here is that as long as you black and you have the best interests of your people in heart, anybody can talk about the damn HBCUs. Because like I say, your tax dollar goes to cover HBCUs as well too. A lot of times people act like black people don't have tax dollars and we don't pay for roads and schools and everything else. Every other group of people in America do. Somehow we're exempt from all these taxes and whatnot, but your damn tax dollar goes to all of the same things that the white tax dollar goes to too. And that was one of the big things with the civil rights movement. They was like, hey, y'all taking our tax dollars and you pouring it into the white community, but you won't pour it into our own community. You won't take some of the white tax dollars and put them in our community the same way you take our black tax dollars and pour it into your community. So damn right, you got a right to say that, man. Damn right, you got it right. Let me give a shout out to MBF, and let me give a shout out to LT Soul for your contributions on Cash App. Definitely appreciate you guys. Definitely appreciate you.
That was me, my brother.
That was you, CJ?
Nah, it was me, bro.
Oh, that was you. Okay, Marcus. Appreciate that, bro. Definitely appreciate that. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Definitely, it's hard getting this work out there. You don't get a whole lot of support behind it, but definitely, like I say, that's why I tell people, if you can support it with $1, we appreciate it. Whatever, we understand our people, economic situations and whatnot, so we do not ask for a whole lot. We say if you got $1, if you don't mind, throw it to us, because we definitely understand the predicament of our people. So I appreciate that so much. Thank you. I appreciate that. Let's go ahead and get to CJ. CJ, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Hey, peace. I was thinking about something when Marcus was talking about the football coach, and I was thinking about what Dion is doing, bringing awareness to HBCUs and some of the games the PWI coaches play, like Saban. And I'm thinking that the thing, let's be honest, like the thing that really drives a lot of these PWIs is their football programs, right? That's where a lot of them make their money from. To get more of our kids to go to HBCUs, I think that would help a lot with the funding. As far as like our kids that are talented, and instead of them going to USC or or Alabama, if they go to a school that has a good football program, but is maybe under the radar, and even not just the kids, but also we need some of our athletes to step up with coaches like Dion is doing. I think that will alleviate a lot of the problems as far as like funding, and also it by doing that, getting one of the biggest recruits in the country to go there, it's taking away that stigma that our schools that supposedly have. But I think that the funding issue is really like an issue for me. Like these PWIs, the whole they're really getting the double dip with the whole serving Latino students thing, because they're getting money for one group of people, and then they're getting money for Latino students too. And it's really we need to do something about the way the funding is allocated. But I think the encouraging more of our kids to go to these schools would help alleviate that. And I'll end on that.
Let me give a quick shout out to Kirsten too for her contribution. Thank you, sister. I appreciate it. Definitely appreciate you. Definitely, I want to I let everybody know, for those who do contribute, I appreciate you. For those who don't, who just come to the spaces, who go to the website, yeah, we appreciate you just as much as well too. So, like I said, we appreciate everybody who supports the content, everybody who comes to the Twitter spaces, everybody who tweets and relikes and comments on the posts. We appreciate all you guys. We're trying to grow this platform. We put out more content than any other Black-owned media curation site, the largest Black-owned news curation site in America today, and we appreciate you guys so much. Marcus, you in Tallahassee? Yeah, bro, we definitely gonna get up. We definitely gonna get up. Trust me. We can definitely do that. Let's go ahead to DC next. DC, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Appreciate it, Toter. So, yeah, man, I mean, hearing what old boy TS was talking about earlier, I ain't going to get deep into it, but that right there, I think, is part of the problem that we have with these HBCUs, because you come in the room grandstanding, giving yourself a pat on the back, all these illustrious titles and all this extra shit, and you claim to be the talented 10, but at the end of the day, the talented 10 gave us Roland Martin. That's what we got out the talented 10. He's a proud HBCU attendee. He vouches for all the Greek organizations, and look what he got for us.
And not to cut you off, DC, but who in the hell is proud to be part of the boule at that? Like,
right? He's part of a group of people who specialize in selling black people out. So, you know, like Carter G. Woodson talked about this in The Miseducation of the Negro. He basically, to paraphrase, said the realest niggas in the black community get it out the mud. They don't have to go and get these degrees and these titles to be able to make something crack. And if you look for a real life example of that, you can look at Don Peoples. Don Peoples is the largest black real estate developer in the country. He's about to build Affirmation Tower in New York, which is going to be the highest, the biggest, the tallest skyscraper in the city. He was given his opportunity, and he didn't go to a HBCU. He was given his opportunity by Marion Barry. Now, if we had more Marion Barrys at these HBCUs, man, I'd be all for the shit. Because he's going to make sure that black people get what they're supposed to get regardless of who it offends. But that's what we get on the real side. On the pretend side, we get niggas coming in the room, rolling out this scroll and shit, talking about all this shit that don't matter. And then we look around and we don't have a single network of hospitals. We don't have any media platforms. We don't have any sports organizations that are owned by these talented 10 people. How are you the talented 10 and you haven't been able to muster all that brain power to come up with nothing tangible that the black community can fall behind? Nothing. The only thing them niggas talented at is kissing white ass. I'm landed with that.
Hey, that was a good one, man. I enjoyed that. Like the 10 and the boule. Like the Ben, that's about the equivalent of being damn saying you proud to be related to the slave catchers or the slave sellers. The boule. Oh my God, what are we talking about here? Like, come on, man. Black Pressure, go ahead and unmute your mic, man.
All right, Newstoter, you know that I'm about to be the villain again. All right? So just two things. You have to give me about 3-4 minutes. We talk about our brother Dion, okay? And I'm a 90s kid. I grew up in the 90s. So, of course, you know, and I'm not a Cowboys fan, but I grew up watching Dion. We all love him. You know, his exploits on the field. We all love Dion. But like I say, I'm about to be the villain. Now, you telling me that Deion Sanders is doing his best. He's doing a great job at resurrecting Jackson State, right? In HBCU. And this nigga sit here and brings a white defensive coordinator in. What example are you setting, man? Once again, like I said, y'all can call me militant and Khalid Muhammad wannabe. You cannot let these white people get a toe in the door. I'm telling you. In 5-6 years, when Florida State throws $80 million at him to come back and coach, a white man is going to be the coach at that school. I'm telling you, a white man will be the coach at that school. If I die tomorrow, remember I said this. I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna move on. But and like I said, we can debate this later. I'm gonna move on to my second point, and I apologize to the family. I cannot remember the brother's name that spoke a few speakers ago, and I apologize. I should have remembered his name. But do you see the bill of goods that black people get sold when the brother was talking about, well, you know, if we want changes at HBCUs, we got to change the board of governors, and then we got to get involved in the political process and rally and come out with signs and wait for change. I'm gonna ask this. At Ohio State, at Michigan University, at Texas, the University of Texas, at UCLA, at the University of Florida, when they want changes to go on, do they have to wait for the Board of Governors to change and then wait for the political process, or does change happen? And like our sister Kirsten said earlier, We pay taxes too. We support all the events. We put money in the city. We put money in the school. And you telling me I gotta wait for the political process for a change to happen? And like I said, I'm gonna be the villain, but I'll land my plane right there.
He addressed what I said. Please let me respond.
Well, this one quick thing though, and I'm gonna go ahead and give it to you. Like, damn, like, and I've been following Jackson State. I've been a Deion fan since I was 9, 10, 11 years old. So I did not know. I mean, you gonna have to show me that link that Jackson State got a white defensive coordinator.
No, I'm telling you, this dude brought in a white man to be the defensive coordinator.
Hold on a second, bro. They hired Mike Zimmerman, bro, from the Vikings, bro.
Whoa, for real?
Right.
That dude's the problem.
Hold on. Just let me get it out. I ain't here to talk, you know what I mean? They hired Mike Zimmerman, but I think he hired them as like a, what do you call it, like a liaison or whatever, somebody to give you some advice. You know, I forgot what it's called.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
He's on analysis. He's basically analysis.
No black man could analyze. There's no black man that could analyze other than Mike.
Now, I agree with that still, because there's plenty of black coaches that are out there. Lovie Smith, whoever still might want to jump in the game. You know, whoever. You know what I'm saying? So I agree with that 100%. And those that are already in black college, collegiate sports, or high school black sports, yeah, you could have gave them an opportunity, Deion. I agree with that 100%. But if they won't fuck around, go 16-0 and win it all, niggas ain't even gonna think about that. And that's the part you are trying to make, brother, and I agree with that. Because when Deion do get that big ass check coming in a couple years, maybe even from the NFL team, it may not even be a collegiate team. You feel what I'm saying? 80 million to coach for 10 years and shit, you know what I mean? He gone, bro. Just that quick. But hopefully it won't be a Mike Zimmerman taking his place. You know, fingers crossed, but shit. If you know, you was right. If it does go down. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, let CJ. I don't want to mess up his flow. CJ, go ahead and get in here. And then we're going to you, Mr. Engaging.
I'm cool. I mean, I didn't know that he hired Zimmerman. I was just giving him an example. I was saying we need more people to do that and not hire white people. But I didn't know he hired Zimmerman. But you know, it is what it is.
And you know, real quick, you know, y'all know this if you're a Deion fan. Florida State already got the check written out. They just wait for that dude to go 6-6 again. I'm telling. If I die tomorrow, they're gonna give Deion a blank check and say, "Fill this out," and I'm gonna land my plane.
All right, so Deion ain't going to Florida State. That's not gonna happen. All right, I'm Newstoter. First off, he ain't gonna go to Florida State because Florida State gets that man at the highest level by saying you ain't finished your degree, your master's degree, so therefore you can't come to this school. And Deion did more for HBCUs in the last 2 years than any other human being, and I'll have to say that. But I want to actually have. I want to actually, Mr. Engagement, CJ.
Hold on. Not more than, what's his name? Robert Johnson, the billionaire. He paid for, I forgot what school that was, all them kids' tuition, yo. So that's
you know what? And you know what? I didn't know that, so you might be right. But what I'm talking about is like literally bringing money into athletic programs across the board. Like Deion ain't even in the MEAC, and Deion brought the MEAC money. Deion is in the SWAC, and he brought every single SWAC school at least $400,000 more than they had before because of the contract that he just signed. The contract that he got, every single SWAC game is going to be on television right now. So now don't get me wrong, you're right. I didn't know he hired Zimmer either, right? And here's where I was going. HBCUs and high school recruitment to get us some money for our sports programs. All it takes is five. Y'all remember the Fab Five from the 90s? Chris Webber, Rose, all them boys, the Fab Five from the 90s.
He's talking shit, huh?
Yeah, all it takes is 5 kids to go to a FAMU homecoming who are the number 1 through 20 kids in the country. And I guarantee you that they're going to go to an HBCU and win a national goddamn championship. And that's going to change the game for everybody and anywhere. I don't give a fuck. They can go right across the street to Florida State after their visit to FAMU, after their visit to Jackson State homecoming, after their visit to Howard homecoming. And whatever college that they go to, the PWI ain't going to be able to do what the Deions and the Willie Simmons and the brother from Tennessee State University can do, right? It's really easy for us to change the dynamics. And I know this is not the conversation, but Newstoter, you got to have a conversation about HBCU sports now. Obviously,
right? Newstoter, do a room on that this week.
Yeah, I see y'all crump over that, so we may have to go ahead and do something on that because the football season coming back up too. So we will go ahead. Y'all definitely DM me on that, and we definitely go ahead and we can set something up on that. So we definitely can do that. I know we got some sisters in here talking about like what the hell are they talking about now. So let's get it back on the topic a little bit because these sisters like.
Can I land one plane real quick? All I want to say is this right here, like gentlemen. Like, at the end of the day, you know what I mean, HBCUs are our vehicle. Like, is a very good vehicle. And when you mentioned my name about, when you mentioned what I said about Board of Governors, and you said the University of Florida doesn't have to worry about it. No, the University of Florida doesn't have to worry about it. Because them motherfuckers already got 3 people on the Board of Governors. Florida State don't have to worry about it. Because them motherfuckers already got 3 people on the University of Miami. They're a private school. But, like, Central Florida, they don't have to worry about it because they already got people, so they're getting what they want already. We don't have people on the Board of Governors in the state of Florida to actually regulate laws for HBCUs. That's all I'm saying. I land my plane.
Hey, Newstoter, I want to say this too to the last brother that just spoke. I want to make this clear. I was not being combative or being disrespectful. I was just contending with what he said. It was no disrespect at all. Just want to make that
clear.
I
ain't think that, bro. I ain't think that.
My bad. I didn't mean to hit the mute. I'm sorry about that.
No, black person, man. Nah, man. You good. I ain't tripping.
Can I jump in here if it's okay?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead and get on in here.
So I went to an HBCU. My parents went to HBCUs. My siblings went to HBCUs, and my son is currently, he just started at an HBCU this year.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. But I think what's missing from this conversation is it's a very different perspective from a parent's point of view. And I think, first I want to say they actually are looking at these metrics because on his application, they actually asked what ethnicity or lineage he was. So they are taking note of their student population, at least at the HBCUs he attends. But what I wanted to say was, from a parent perspective, the issues that these students or the parents are encountering are the same ones that have existed for many years. And it's very frustrating from a parent point of view when you want to send your child to an HBCU, you're paying more money. We pay more money for him to go to this HBCU than we would had he gone to the state school that he got into with an arguably better resource program because we wanted him in that environment. But we've had to call the institute. He didn't get that much academic aid because HBCUs don't really award, they don't have the finances to award a lot of aid per student. So what they kind of do is they kind of spread it around. But we've had to call. We've been hung up on. We've been placed on hold for 30 minutes. We've gotten an automated message that said, we're basically the lines are busy. Try your call again later. We've had a situation where the phone lines were down. Like, so there's a lot of infrastructure. And he received some scholarships, which required the school to actually send documentation to the program to say, hey, he's enrolled. We had to submit it twice, call to double back to make sure they did what they were supposed to do. So what I wanted to say was we need to start holding the schools accountable for these type of issues because from a parent point of view, I'm like, why would anyone want to send their child to a school where this is an issue? It really is borderline ridiculous, honestly. So I love my HBCU. I love, the same one my parents went to. I wouldn't trade that experience for the world. But we really need to get our shit together. into the conversation.
Thank you. This was Black American and America speaking, because I couldn't really see who was speaking.
Yeah, that's me.
Okay, make sure you follow the host and the co-host if you can. I believe it might be Mr. Engaging Go. Mr. Engaging, I kind of lost track of where we were at. So
it's all love. It's all love. She came up out of blue, and we need women speakers, so it's all love. And she
no
added
problem.
a great perspective. I don't trip, man. You already know how I am. I only trip on the other team. With that being said, one of the things I did notice about some of the HBCUs is not shade, but I noticed that when they talk about the Black experience and when it comes to the education at HBCU, I hear the struggle, and when I mean the struggle, I hear like the things that a college student wants to get away from and to better their college experience and get the education they need. They're going to be caught up with the struggle in the guise of not having the resources they need, not having the financial aid they need, and some of the stuff to make a enjoyable experience. And that could be very daunting. Like, I would love HBCUs to modify and change that. Also, the other thing I want to address is not a shot at you, Brother Marcus, but it needs to be clarified. Trump did try to give money to the HBCUs. There was some HBCUs that turned a blind eye because it was Trump. We need to get out of our feelings out of certain candidates that are supporting our cause and actually just go with the flow when it comes to that perspective. I think they did a disservice to themselves as an HBCU by kind of like taking a shot at Trump when Trump was giving out more money than Biden. So, like, when you have those type of situations that do go on, I really think that we do need to work on our politics a little bit better and have more Marion Barrys that's going to actually advocate and actually get the resources that we deserve as Black American people. So that was just one of the things I just wanted to highlight.
Newstoter, can I respond real quick? Just very quickly. I don't have, you're absolutely right, brother. I don't have a problem with matter of fact, you're more than right. Biden hadn't done shit for us when it comes down to the HBCUs. Well, he did give us a little funding, but when it comes down to it, Trump gave us money also. I wasn't talking about Biden. I was talking about the people that are on these governors boards that were historically nominated and put on that have historically defunded our colleges throughout the history of leadership, whether Democrat or Republican. I didn't say a party.
But you did start off with Republicans, and you said that
in the state of Florida.
Yeah, within the state. And my response is that not all Republicans. I'm not caping for the Republicans, but the facts are the facts. Trump did allocate more funds to HBCUs, and actually was more supportive, and actually was doing things to improve our conditions.
No, I agree with you, brother. I agree with you. I'm not. Matter of fact, I land my plane with that. I agree with you.
That was my only rebut towards the HBCUs. When they do get political, they get political in the wrong reasons, and they could have really capitalized off the Trump situation. That's all.
Absolutely. Let's see who's next. Black Pressure, I believe you might be next. We're gonna go ahead and so we're gonna wrap this up. We're gonna get the Black Pressure, and then we're gonna get the Marcus, and then me and DJ, and we're gonna go ahead and wrap the space up for the night. But guys, we are thinking about seriously holding that HBCU sports, perhaps even on a Saturday. If you guys we can see about doing it maybe Saturday sometime, maybe Saturday morning before the actual games actually get started or whatever. So we can definitely, you guys go ahead. That's interesting. Go ahead and DM me. Marcus already DM me. Let me know. Go ahead and try to get us a few people up in there, get the little space going or whatever. So you guys go ahead and DM me and let me know. Saturday probably would be a good time to go ahead and pop it off. College football is getting ready to start. We can go ahead and we can make that happen. So anybody interested, just go ahead and DM me so we can know that we're going to have some interested participants into the actual space. It's a Black Pressure. You go ahead and unmute your mic.
I'm good, brother. I'd rather hear someone else. I'm good, brother.
Okay, Marcus, you want to go ahead and get something in before we go ahead and close this space out?
No, man, thank you for having this space, dog. HBCUs are important. They hold like a critical, I want to repeat this. Black communities across America that have a HBCU in it benefits so much from having the HBCU there, right? And I when I was working in politics, I did like an HBCU tour for one of my candidates at a high level, right? And they didn't even understand it, right? So they're so like the current politicians that we have right now are so far away and unnuanced and use HBCUs as sort of a young gateway to create this new neoliberal, moderate, we ain't doing shit for black people graduates, that we have to kind of reclaim the HBCU space also. And I hope we do that. I hope conversations like this actually lead to that. Thanks, I'll land my plane.
TJ, go ahead and get a final word in there before we go ahead and close the space out.
Nah, no final word needed. You know, reparations up, black people up. On to the next one, man. Enjoy your night.
Definitely. We had an interesting space again tonight. I want to thank everybody for coming out and supporting the space. We try to have informative, great dialogue type spaces and stuff. We got to try to go ahead and stay on the mission as much as possible. No side distractions. Even though I know we sometimes have a side distraction come up in the space sometimes. But definitely, it's great to go ahead and talk about these issues that's concerning the black community. Everybody, my brothers, they came out strong tonight. Everybody contributed. We had a couple of sisters who also came strong. I wish we could have got a few more sisters on board, but hey, they always come to the space. They always support. So we definitely got to give respect to them. Great space, like I said. Should HBCUs be only for black Americans or everyone? Well, we know the way things are set up today that it would never be 100% black because of the federal funding that they hold over the head of these HBCUs, making it almost impossible for that to happen. But the very bulk of it, and I do mean the bulk of the HBCUs, both from the administration to the actual student body, should at least be 90% black, at least 90. Some of my followers said 95%. Some of them saying 85%, but I believe it should at least be 90%. And out of that 10%, then you can go ahead and you can split that up between the diaspora and whites and other minorities or whatever like that. But based off of the suffering and all the pain that came building these institutions, everything that we went through, yeah, it should be 90% black. Like, we have to have certain things set aside strictly for black Americans. That's not a crime because you have things set aside specifically for other groups. Nobody whines about it. Nobody cries about it. If it's a fund just for Jewish kids, not one person better not say a damn thing about it. They better go ahead and roll with the punches. If it's something directly set aside for Hispanics, nobody better say a damn thing because they know what's up. They better not say anything if it's the LGBTQ. The only time people cut their mouth and start talking slick and talking stupid is when it's for black Americans. That's the only time that you hear people up here griping and moaning and cutting the fool and whatnot. Only when it's something for black Americans. It could be for somebody else in the black diaspora, and they'll bite their tongue. They might not like it. They'll bite their tongue. But don't let it be for black Americans, exclusively for them. The descendants of slaves, and then it's a problem. Now you're showing reverse racism. Now you're being unfair. Now you're a bigot. You this and you that. So I stick by my guns. I believe that it should be 90% black Americans. And that I'm talking about from the landscapers to everybody that works on that campus to the actual kids and stuff like that. And if you can't find kids, you say that academically that deserve to go to college, then look harder. Go ahead and put some kids in there that's got a C average if you got to, and put them in there and let them get the education as well too. So I'm definitely gonna stick by that. I don't care who likes it. That's just how it is. Everybody else, you got plenty of white kids that's got C grades and whatnot, that's getting college degrees. People taking tests for them, writing papers, and everything else. We know the way the game is played here, so let's not act stupid. You can catch us Monday through Thursday on Twitter. Our Twitter spaces start at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is Monday through Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to hold some more spaces this week. We plan on having an interview also on Thursday with the actual medical student that was facing discrimination from the actual university she was at. So we'll have more to come on that in the following days. But we're going to actually have a live interview in the Twitter space on Thursday. So you guys make sure you come there. The student has been discriminated against. So I want everybody to come in and make sure you catch that space as well. Support us on the YouTube. Support us on Instagram, Facebook. Make sure you definitely, everybody that's in this space, you're following us on Twitter. And definitely everybody in this space, y'all need to go to newstoter.com daily. You have to help us grow, and we need you to help us grow by visiting the website and surfing. If you're on the site and you're reading the article, you click the article that says read more, and your computer and your phone won't go. That means that you have a pop-up blocker that's stopping the redirect. Go ahead and allow pop-ups. It will allow you to go to the actual main site and read the entire article. So we need that support. We need you guys to go there and to help strengthen us the same way we have the CNNs and the MSNBCs of the world. We need to try to get Newstoter to that level. So you can also support us on Cash App, $Newstoter. That is $Newstoter. And I want to thank once again everybody who came in, everybody who tweeted out the link, everybody who just sat back, chill, listened to the great conversation we had tonight. Thank all the speakers and everybody else who made this a successful Twitter space as usual. We are one of the most informative Twitter spaces on Twitter, so you can always catch a great topic and conversation going on when you come in here. So thank you guys again, and we will see you tomorrow night.
Peace out, fam. No slow-mo, by the way.